Welcome to Safe Haven Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know many of you are feeling overwhelmed by the constant demands of modern life, the endless notifications, the pressure to always be available, the feeling that you're constantly falling behind. Please know that what you're experiencing is not a personal failure. You're responding to an unprecedented level of stimulation and stress that our brains simply weren't designed to handle. Let's explore together how we can build genuine resilience in this hyperconnected world, not through forcing ourselves to cope better, but by understanding and working with our brain's natural stress response systems. Today, we'll be discussing the neuroscience of stress resilience based on the very latest research from 2024 and 2025. I want to be transparent with you. While I'll share evidence-based techniques that have helped many people, everyone's situation is unique. What works for one person may need adjustment for another, and if you're experiencing severe stress or mental health challenges, please consider reaching out to a mental health professional who can provide personalized support. There's absolutely no shame in seeking help. In fact, it's one of the most courageous things you can do for yourself. Take your time with everything we discuss today. There's no rush, no competition, and no perfect way to manage stress. Small steps matter just as much as big changes, and sometimes the most important thing is simply being kind to yourself as you navigate these challenges. Remember, you don't have to implement everything at once. Start with what feels manageable, and build from there at your own pace. Let me share some fascinating scientific discoveries about stress that might help you understand what's happening in your body and mind. A groundbreaking 2025 study from a leading research institution discovered something remarkable about cortisol, our primary stress hormone. Contrary to what we previously believed, cortisol doesn't spike when we wake up. Instead, it begins rising hours before we wake, as our bodies anticipate the stress of the coming day. This means that for many of us living with chronic stress, our anxiety is literally disrupting our sleep architecture before we're even conscious. This isn't your fault, it's your brain trying to protect you by preparing for perceived threats. Recent research involving over 140 workers found that digital stress creates entirely different cortisol patterns than traditional stressors. The fear of missing out on information, combined with information overload, creates a unique form of exhaustion that previous generations never experienced. A comprehensive 2024 review analyzing 87 peer-reviewed studies revealed something hopeful though. Our brains have remarkable plasticity. Even in adults, stress-related brain changes can be reversed. Mindfulness-based interventions were shown to increase cortical thickness and improve connectivity between brain networks within just 8 weeks. This isn't about positive thinking or ignoring problems, it's about literally rewiring how your brain processes stress. Joint research by multiple universities comparing various stress management techniques found that combining mindfulness with cognitive behavioral approaches produces neuroplastic changes visible on brain scans. The effect sizes were comparable to antidepressant medications, but with benefits that persist years after the intervention ends. However, I want to be clear, this doesn't mean medication is unnecessary for those who need it. These techniques work best as part of a comprehensive approach to mental health. Now, let's explore some practical, science-backed methods you can use to build stress resilience. Remember, these are suggestions based on research, not prescriptions. Choose what resonates with you and feels safe to try. First, let's talk about the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which research shows can reduce cortisol levels within just 3 minutes. When you feel stress rising, try breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 7 counts, and exhaling for 8 counts. This specific ratio has been shown to optimally activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in relaxation response. Start with just 3 cycles. If holding your breath feels uncomfortable, adjust the counts to what feels right for you. Some people prefer 4-4-6 or even 3-5-5. The key is the longer exhale, which signals safety to your nervous system. Next, let's address digital boundaries. Research validates what many of us intuitively know: constant connectivity is exhausting our stress response systems. Try creating what scientists call cortisol recovery windows by turning off all notifications for 2 hours after waking and 2 hours before sleep. I know this might feel impossible given work demands or family responsibilities. Start smaller if needed. Even 30 minutes can help. Use your phone's built-in tools to schedule these quiet periods automatically. Studies show this allows your natural cortisol rhythms to begin resetting. For those interested in mindfulness, research demonstrates that just 10 minutes of daily practice can increase gray matter density in brain regions responsible for emotion regulation. You don't need to sit in perfect silence or empty your mind. Simply count your breaths from 1 to 10, then start over. When thoughts come, and they will, just notice them without judgment, label them as thinking, and gently return to counting. Some days this will feel impossible, and that's okay. Even attempting the practice has value. If sitting still feels too hard, try walking meditation or mindful movement instead. Cognitive reframing is another powerful tool backed by neuroscience. When you notice stress-amplifying thoughts, try the evidence for inevidence against technique. Write down your stressful thought, then list objective evidence that supports it and evidence that contradicts it. Research shows this can reduce amygdala reactivity by up to 40% when practiced regularly. But please, don't use this to dismiss real problems or gaslight yourself. The goal isn't to pretend everything is fine, but to see situations more accurately. Human connection is perhaps our most powerful stress antidote. Schedule one 15-minute meaningful conversation daily without devices present. This doesn't have to be deep or serious, just authentic. Face-to-face interaction releases oxytocin, which directly counteracts cortisol. Studies show even brief genuine connections reduce inflammatory markers associated with chronic stress. If in-person connection isn't possible, video calls work too. The key is full presence and authentic engagement. Finally, let's talk about sleep optimization. That pre-sleep cortisol surge discovered in recent research can be addressed by creating a stress buffer zone 90 minutes before bed. Dim your lights to about 40% brightness. This signals your brain that it's time to wind down. Try progressive muscle relaxation for 10 minutes, tensing and releasing each muscle group. Keep your room between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit if possible. These aren't rigid rules, adjust them to your circumstances. Even implementing one element can help. To summarize what we've discussed today. First, chronic stress physically changes our brain structure, but these changes are reversible through consistent practice. Second, digital overload creates unique stress patterns that require intentional boundaries and recovery periods. Third, brief breathing techniques can activate immediate stress recovery by engaging our parasympathetic nervous system. Fourth, mindfulness practices create measurable positive changes in brain regions controlling emotional regulation. Fifth, authentic social connections release hormones that directly neutralize the effects of chronic stress. And sixth, preparing for sleep properly can prevent the anticipatory stress response that disrupts our rest. Remember, you're not broken for struggling with stress in our modern world. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it evolved to do. The problem is that it's responding to a level of stimulation and demand that's historically unprecedented. Be patient with yourself as you explore these techniques. Change takes time, and that's perfectly normal. You don't need to be perfect or implement everything at once. Even one small change, practiced consistently, can begin shifting your stress response patterns. If today's content provided any support or comfort, please consider hitting the like button. It helps others find this information. Subscribe to Safe Haven Radio to continue learning about mental health and well-being together. Remember, seeking support is a sign of strength, not weakness. Whether that's through these videos, talking with friends, or working with a mental health professional, you deserve support in navigating life's challenges. May your hearts feel a little lighter after our time together today. Thank you for listening to Safe Haven Radio, and please take gentle care of yourself.